And it appears we are live, guys. I was going to just save this all for the game review, which will be coming later if you were here by chance but not design. The Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, so I will have a game review today, but I am too excited to do anything else, and I wanted to jump right in and get a live stream started. These notes will be in no particular order. These notes will not be organized. These are pure naked thoughts. I hope to have more organization in game review, but I wanted to talk about some things because it is uh, it is an exciting start to a season to beat the Baltimore Ravens opening weekend. Well, opening pre-weekend, I suppose we should say, because this is a good football team in the Ravens. They had every reason to want to come into Kansas City and absolutely destroy the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs ended their previous season en route to a Super Bowl victory. We have every reason to believe that the Baltimore Ravens last season would have been competitive in that Super Bowl, if not have taken it home themselves. But I wanted to get into what it is that I think there are positives to take away from this game. I think I'm going to keep this mainly with the positive. There are a few negatives, though obviously you don't want to overreact to those because it is week one. And the maybe I should I'll just say it. The big one to take away is Nick Bolton did not look great, but he didn't have a whole lot of preseason work, and we will get into this in the game review later. The one thing that I really took away from that, well, the one thing that I didn't know whether or not I would take away from this game was how good Isaiah Pacheco looked. Isaiah Pacheco, not a big night on the stat sheet, not a huge night on the stat sheet. Isaiah Pacheco, a really good game, in my opinion. That's a good Ravens defensive front. The yards were hard fought by Isaiah Pacheco, but he looked good catching the ball as well. That is something we have not seen from his game yet to this point. But also, here's another thing. Isaiah Pacheco, to me, maybe I'm not being fair, looked a whole lot better in traffic than he had previously. I thought that Isaiah Pacheco looked much quicker on his feet, looked much lighter on his feet, showed really good change of direction, showed really good reading ability in the hole. And that is something that is going to pay dividends as the season progresses. There were some plays, some carries for Isaiah Pacheco that will be much more impactful against, I'll just say it, lesser defenses than the one that he saw tonight. If Isaiah Pacheco all of a sudden becomes one of these guys that you can count on for explosive plays, which we haven't seen a whole lot from him, especially if you're considering the athlete that he is, if he's someone from whom we can now all of a sudden count on for explosive plays, guys, this offense is going to look very, very, very good, especially down the stretch in the winter when the running game is more important than maybe it is right now. The second really big positive that I took from this game, that was something you knew coming into the game you were going to either take as a positive or a negative, is Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy, 3 touches, 2 touchdowns. Yeah, that's a good night. One thing that we're going to see in the next couple weeks, teams will overcorrect for Xavier Worthy. Teams will overcorrect for that sweep that he had, that he took to the house. By the way, holy moly, what a run. That play is going to pay dividends for this offense in a way that you cannot count. From now on, this entire season, anytime Xavier Worthy is in jet motion, there is going to be a massive correction on the defense. That is huge for this offense. All of a sudden, you have a jet motion that is as effective as that was, whether it continues to be effective or not. The fact that he would have scored on that play from 80 yards. He would have scored on that play from 90 yards, 95 yards. Now you have the power to just punch it up the gut off of a jet motion in a way that we haven't ever really had post Tyreek. McCole Hardman is very good on the jet motion. McCole Hardman very good with the action here, but not the threat that Xavier Worthy displayed on that play. Rosemary chimes in saying, Snead was missed on defense. Can't believe they let him go. Sure, absolutely. Here's the thing, though. You still had their key receiver, Flowers, 6 for 37. Nowhere near the performance that he had in the AFC Championship game. And one of the other notes that I have is that Watson, he's going to be your cornerback number 2, I think. He's a gamer. Maybe he doesn't have the strongest practices. I don't know what it is. Everything I've seen from him on Sundays leads me to believe that he is a legitimate number 2 in the NFL. So that is something that here's okay. Did he have the strongest game? No, he did not have a L'Jarius Sneed type game. Gary's in the chat too. He did not have a L'Jarius Sneed type game. You're not going to have that. It's going to look, however, like he is being picked on much more on the screen than he is in real life, because teams just aren't going to throw towards Trent McDuffie. Not at this point. Teams are going to avoid Trent McDuffie as much as they can. The fact that Zay Flowers had a much worse game than he had in the AFC Championship game, when I believe he was going to be, he came into this game as a focus for the Ravens offense. Why wouldn't he have been? The last time the Chiefs saw the Ravens, Zay Flowers was an absolute stud. So, of course, they're going to target him. Of course, they're going to think, well, they don't have L'Jarius Sneed. We're going to be able to get the ball to Zay Flowers in ways that we were not able to do in the AFC Championship game. Yeah, didn't happen. Didn't happen at all. It's not to say that it won't happen in the future. The Chiefs are going to see this team again, probably, unless one of these teams gets knocked out in the playoffs prior to playing each other. These look like AFC Championship contenders to me. These teams in week 1 had an absolute slugfest on the field. May not have really looked like that at times. That was a slugfest. I talked in the lead up to this game. I talked in the what to watch video that I made that we're going to see whether or not this game is chippy. It was. We're going to see whether or not tempers will flare. They did. This is a performance by the Kansas City Chiefs that is absolutely playoff worthy in week 1, in day 1 of the NFL schedule. Part of that chippiness that we saw, however, was towards Patrick Mahomes taking late hits. And he is getting the anti-LeBron. He's getting the Caitlin Clark treatment. He's getting the anti-LeBron treatment. Those were late hits. Now, he sold them absolutely 100%, and he should. But you don't hit players out of bounds, right? Especially quarterbacks, especially in today's NFL. And you would think, especially Patrick Mahomes. But if he's going to be treated in the same way by officials that was someone like Cam Newton, the Chiefs are not going to get the flags that they got in the past. I think part of this is we have seen a huge reaction by the officiating in the NFL. We saw this with Jawan Taylor last season, and the way that Jawan Taylor was getting a jump off the snap, and then all of a sudden, in week 2 and thenceforth, Jawan Taylor was penalized time and time again. That said, in the lead up to this game, all offseason, I have said that the Chiefs have a 2 starting tackle competition. I believe that is true after this performance by Jawan Taylor. Not a terrible performance. Penalized twice. On pace for 34 penalties, which would blow last season's 17 out of the water. But unlikely to get to that point. Knight Rider says, I still like our DBs, Jay Watson and Joshua Williams, along with Connor and Hicks. Yeah, this defensive back group is good. This defensive back group, they have poured tons of assets into it. I didn't notice Najee Johnson outside of special teams, but that is not to say that he was not on the field. It's hard off one viewing of the game to really get those notes, right? So I'm going to have to go back and look a little bit more, see what I can find that way. Gary, hey, scrambling. Good to see you. Chiefs 1-0. That is the big deal from tonight. 1-0. You're looking at 10 wins get you into the playoffs most seasons, meaning that the Chiefs now have 16 opportunities to get 9 wins in order to get into the tournament. And we have every reason to believe that they will get there. We have every reason to believe that this team is playoff bound. This team is one of the prime competitors for the Super Bowl. If you have any comments, please chime in, because, like I said, all I have is bare notes from this game so far. So it is going to be a bit of a struggle to get through the live stream, maybe. I'm hoping to be in here for about an hour. The next thing I wanted to talk about is a little bit of mea culpa. I try to always admit when I am wrong. I try to maybe address why I was wrong. I was wrong on Noah Gray. Noah Gray was prime time in this game. Noah Gray was extended prior to the game, and he looks to be part of the Chiefs' plans going forward. Noah Gray, an absolute weapon for this offense in this game, someone that came up a few times big, right? Came up a few times very big for this offense, and quite honestly, there was a couple times I mistook him for Travis Kelce out there. If the Chiefs have an offense as open as it was tonight, guys, that performance in most games is going to net you 35 points, is going to net you maybe 40 points. The Chiefs offense in this game, all chiefed up, is here. What are you guys doing here? You guys should be asleep, right? Good to see you here. So I will be looking down for the chat because my YouTube is still broken, apparently. The 1-0, though, that's the big thing to take from tonight. The offense looked really good tonight. Wow. Yeah, if this offense, Rashee Rice looks like an absolute stud. He is ascending to true number one status, and that should terrify the NFL. He was a true possession receiver tonight. 103 yards, I believe it was, on pace for 1,700. Let's go, Rashee. This offense is going to, if this offense is able to maintain this level of explosiveness, you hate to say it off a week one performance, but it's a week one performance against the Baltimore Ravens, a team that is very good, a team that is very disciplined, a team that is going to improve. Wow. The Chiefs could be in position to set all sorts of records for an offense if this stacks up. Knight Rider chiming in. The combo of Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy is scary. Indeed, it is. The dividends that we will see from this game, from the defense, every defense in the NFL that is not the Baltimore Ravens knows they're not the Baltimore Ravens. They're going to have to go into Chiefs week with some tricks up their sleeve. They're going to have to adjust in ways that the Ravens were not, because they do have so much talent on the defensive side of the football that we're going to see, I think, a whole lot more of Rashee Rice in the middle of the field, getting open, separating, and being able to turn after he has the ball in his hands. That is something that, again, Rashee Rice with the ball in his hands is dangerous. That's why the Chiefs utilized him so much at the line of scrimmage last season. So the performance by Rashee Rice and Zay Flowers basically flipped from the AFC Championship game. Zay Flowers was, 6 for 37. What's that average? 6 yards, basically 6 yards of reception, right? 6 yards of reception. Rashee Rice in the AFC Championship game averaged, I believe, 5.4, something like that. It was his lowest average of the entire season. Flipping that on its head led to the Chiefs being able not to march down the field. That didn't happen, but to march down the field occasionally. And the Chiefs matriculating the ball against a defense like this is a very good sign for things to come. Gary chimes in. Do you see Xavier Worthy will be a top 10 receiver for the Chiefs this year? I can't read the rest of your note here because it's under the little heart emoji. But If Xavier Worthy is a top 10 receiver in the league, guys, it'll be a very short season because we'll be having so much fun. Xavier Worthy, if he is a top 10 receiver, you have to believe that Rashee Rice will be too. If the Chiefs have 2 top 10 receivers and the best tight end in football, nobody's going to stop them. Not saying they'll go, win every game, but you're not going to stop them. You might beat them. You're not going to stop them. The next note that I have, 1 sack for this defense is not indicative of what this team will be doing going forward. This team is going to pile up the sacks. What you saw tonight was Leo Chenal on a lot of spy work. Leo Chenal being able to not contain Lamar Jackson. You're not going to contain Lamar Jackson. He still had a great game rushing the ball, running the ball. Leo Chenal as a spy should terrify anyone with a scrambling quarterback in this league. For anyone who doesn't know, scrambling armchair, where I got that from, is scrambling quarterback and armchair quarterback. I am neither of those things, so I figured just steal the first part because I'm not a quarterback. But yeah, 1 sack for this defense is not indicative. There was pressure all night, the penetration all night. I don't know if I should say pressure. I think that a lot of this game was the defense trying to keep Lamar Jackson in front of them, not letting him get away. That said, George Karlaftis undercut the offensive tackle quite a few times, which led to Lamar being able to get out of the pocket. And I said in I don't remember which video it was, but I talked about how Andy Reid was there's going to be some things set up for this. The offense was going to run a couple of things that they will build on the next time they see the Ravens. I don't know what those plays would have been. I guarantee you they were there. I don't know what those plays would have been, but there are variations of these plays that the Ravens will see in the playoffs that will not go the way that the Ravens are expecting them to go. So, yeah, the Ravens defense also occasionally had a spy for Patrick Mahomes. Had they consulted your good buddy Scrambling Armchair, that might not have happened because we saw a continuation of last season, not the AFC Championship game. Patrick Mahomes was not going to stop running in the playoffs. He was going to take the opportunity if it presented itself. I think that he did a very good job last night of not scrambling, of not running past the line of scrimmage the way that he did last season. We saw a different Patrick Mahomes come the playoffs, one that was not afraid to tuck the ball and run. We didn't see as much of that last night, and I don't think we should through the regular season. But teams willing to redirect one of their defenders towards a spy for Patrick Mahomes is going to decimate them in the regular season if they continue to do that. Because, yeah, I don't think Patrick Mahomes is going to be running the ball as much as he did in the playoffs. And I don't think that teams are, well, the Ravens didn't make that readjustment yet. Teams might learn that as the season goes on the way that they did last year. But if anyone is willing to go ahead and designate one of their defensive players to spy Patrick Mahomes, let them. Absolutely let them. You're going to have 4 down linemen. You're going to have 1 spy. If you're willing to do that, go ahead, and Patrick Mahomes will tear you apart on the back end. And we saw some of that with Patrick Mahomes going over the middle. And here's another. So not a huge game for Travis Kelce. That's okay with me. That's okay with me because save him the hits. Let him have a decent regular season and go off in the playoffs. That'll be absolutely fine. The next note I have, nothing in the chat right now. Rashee Rice is becoming a stud. If Rashee Rice does transcend to number 1 wide receiver, a true number 1 wide receiver that he started to morph into last year, we saw again a 100-yard night from Rashee Rice. Absolutely great stuff. And part of that is because of the new speed threat to the Chiefs offense. And this is without Hollywood Brown. When Hollywood Brown comes back, this is going to be an even more potent offense. Everyone knows that. All of us know that. All of us are ready for that to happen. But when it does, I don't know what this offense looks like. I don't know where Hollywood Brown works into the offense. And I'm not saying he doesn't. Absolutely, I'm not saying he doesn't. Obviously, I'm not saying he doesn't. I don't know where he fits. I don't know what this offense does look like. It's obvious through game one that we did not see a whole lot of what the Chiefs will be in the preseason, maybe not even in training camp. If you have any ideas of what it is that Hollywood Brown will be doing in this offense, let me know, because I don't know where to project that right now. The next note that I have, the defense on that final drive absolutely gassed. And it's easy to sit on the couch and say, what was going on here? It's easy to, from a commentator and media perspective, which we will see, I'm sure, in the coming weeks, they're going to have to find some way to try to scare tactic the Chiefs fan base to keep the rest of the NFL interested, to keep the rest of the NFL fan bases interested. The Ravens ran 74 plays. Now, you can say that's because the defense has taken a step back without Willie Gay. The defense has taken a step back without L'Jarius Sneed. You can say that, and probably there's a little bit of truth to it. You're also going to see plays run, right? This is an offense, the Ravens, that is going to run up play totals because they're able to convert first downs. Isaiah Likely, very good. They're going to be able to keep the ball moving. They're going to be able to get to the chains. They're going to run the football. They want to run the football. So the Ravens running 74 plays is going to gas the defensive line. We saw more, I think, I don't have the snap counts. We saw more FAU than we had last season. Maybe that's a good sign. Maybe it's because there were 74 plays run. I thought that he looked decent. I thought that he does look more explosive this year. I don't know that it translated to the stat sheet. Top of my head, I don't know how many tackles he had. If FAU can take the next step, this is going to be a defense that is explosive. This is going to be a defense that is going to ring up sacks. We didn't see Cam either that they just acquired. Knight Rider chimes in, once he returns, Hollywood could potentially be a more dangerous version of Demarcus Robinson. Guys, I think that's the floor. I think that if Hollywood Brown is Demarcus Robinson plus, that's the floor. Absolutely, Knight Rider. Demarcus Robinson was maybe at the time a little bit underrated because of Tyreek Hill, because of Travis Kelce in receiving prime. I won't say that I miss Demarcus Robinson. We missed him last year. If Demarcus Robinson were on the team last year, he could have been the number one wide receiver at times. Gary chimes in, what do you feel about the running backs we have in the backfield? Pacheco Steele, the running back they just signed from the Broncos. The running game is going to be interesting this year because they're going to get a lot more opportunities, maybe not touches. They're going to get a lot more opportunities from the fact that there's going to be lighter boxes. You're going to have two safeties deep. You're not going to have overly aggressive linebackers because the threat of the pass is always there. You have in these running backs big, powerful guys. Isaiah Pacheco doesn't get the credit for the power that he has because he does look diminutive on the field. I think there is something to that number 10 jersey that makes him look like a little guy because we're so used to seeing Tyreek in it. If the running backs can put together a number of, if the running backs can put on tape the type of power rushing between the tackles that I think they will be, defenses aren't going to know how to play this offense. They're not going to know how to play this offense because there will always be the threat of Isaiah Pacheco just mashing your middle linebacker with his face mask between his numbers. That's going to be underrated as the season goes on. The Chiefs averaged 7 yards per play tonight, and that's against a very good defense. Aaron says he fell asleep shortly after the game. Fell asleep. It's understandable. That game, I was on my feet a lot during that game. Very exciting, very, very fortuitous if the Chiefs are that team, if the Chiefs are the team that we saw. Nicholas says a win is a win. I'll take it 1-0. Nicholas, I'll be interested to hear why the phrase a win is a win. 7-point win against the Ravens. Very good. I was expecting a 3-point win. I don't know if you saw it after the overturned touchdown at the end to Isaiah Likely. Harbaugh was going to go for 2. He was going to go for the throat. I don't know what I consider myself in life something of a contrarian. I consider myself in life a little bit of a guy who takes the common opinion and tries to disprove it. But I'm right there with everyone else, and I don't know why. I can't stand either of the Harbaughs. So a win is a win, absolutely. And a hard-fought win is a hard-fought win. It was a hard-fought win. I understand wanting the fireworks after this game. I understand wanting to have seen the Chiefs come out and just assert dominance. I thought that it was a possibility, if unlikely, a possibility, because this team was going to be so enthused and so focused in week 1, wanting not to repeat the trajectory of last season. Last season obviously ended with a Super Bowl win, but there were things that were shaky early in the season. Wow. The performance that we saw last night was a sneaky, I won't say dominant win, but a sneaky win with authority, I think for sure. So the next note that I have, the Ravens surprisingly had no sense of urgency in the fourth quarter. The Chiefs, maybe this is why you're saying this, Nicholas. The Chiefs had an opportunity to shut the game down with 4 minutes to go. Was that when Patrick Mahomes caught his own pass? The first receiving yards of Patrick Mahomes' career in a ball thrown by Patrick Mahomes in a move reminiscent of the reception by Lamar Jackson in last year's AFC Championship game. They had an opportunity. They couldn't convert it, but that's not all that upsetting. You expect things like that in a game against a team as strong as the Baltimore Ravens. Struggling with figuring out where to go from here. That game was something that will be a building block. The Ravens that we saw, however, are not going to be the Ravens that end the season. This team will improve. That is a staple of a Harbaugh coach team. That offensive line will get better. 3 new starters, I believe, on the Ravens offensive line. And I won't say they looked weak. Chris Jones was definitely able to call his shots in this game, despite only having 1 sack. But that offensive line was not, I would have expected that offensive line to look weaker than it did, judging the fact that they did have 3 new starters. And that's a really well-coached team. By the time the playoffs get here, that offensive line is going to be one of the probably top 10, definitely top 12 offensive lines in football. You can count on that. So things will go a little bit differently. Now, the Chiefs, hopefully, by then have Charles Omenihu back in the lineup. If the Chiefs are healthy, if this team does stay healthy, this team is going to be in every game that they play. They were in most of the games that they played last year with 0 offensive explosion. We have already seen, I believe, if I'm remembering this correctly, half of the 20-plus yard touchdowns that we saw all last season. So that is, if you're seeing that versus the Ravens, You're going to see that versus many of the teams in the NFL. Jump in the chat if you have anything that you want to raise. Otherwise, I'll just go off of my notes as I knock things off of my desk. Where are we at here? So one surprise for me, one pleasant surprise for me was Tershawn Wharton. I thought Tershawn Wharton looked better in this game than I was expecting, looked better in this game than maybe he had last season. He had a lingering injury, right? If I'm not mistaken, he had a lingering injury that was bigger than we knew. But if the Chiefs are able to find a defensive tackle to really get some penetration next to Chris Jones, this defense that looked like it had weaknesses tonight will not look quite so bad, so porous as we go on. And again, strong performance by the defense. That Ravens offense has targets all over the field. Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers. That's a good offense. They have playmakers that wanted to play with Lamar Jackson, and good game for them. Didn't come out in the end. So that is that. The next note that I have, I already talked about Watson. Watson is a gamer. Watson is someone that we are going to see get better this season. I think Watson is someone that the coaches, you even heard in the post-game presser, Andy Reid talked about Joshua Williams. He named Joshua Williams. He did not name Watson. I don't think that was a sign of disrespect. Andy Reid often talks in numbers. Number 35, number 2, he said, but then he clarified it seems that the coaching staff is really pulling for Joshua Williams. I don't know where that, I don't mean this as a negative. I don't know where that comes from. I'm not there in practice, right? I don't see what they see. They want Joshua Williams to be that number 2 guy. And I think that Watson's going to be one of these players that in the same way that Carson Steele earned his spot on this roster in the preseason in game scenarios, we're going to see Jalen Watson continue, I think, to earn playing time. He was a little bit beat on that play, that PBU in front of Zay Flowers. And guys, you're going to get beat by Zay Flowers once in a while. And he did. But he was still able to break up that pass. Jalen Watson has good reach. Jalen Watson has good ball awareness. He is aware of where the ball was. We have seen many corners in Chiefs past, I will not name names, where you say, just turn around. Why did you not know where that football was? Turn around. You have to look. He does. Jalen Watson knows where the ball is. He is aware, and he's a bigger guy also than for which he gets credit. Knight Rider chimes in. Chiefs got the Bengals next week. Very glad we have 2 premier opponents early. It'll give us a chance to gauge our team early. That is a great point, Knight Rider. It was foreboding looking at the schedule, right? You have these 2 opponents, weeks 1 and 2. That is a heavy load, especially when we have seen Joe Burrow not finish a few seasons. So having the Bengals early in the season, when you know Joe Burrow is going to be there, you're going to get 2 of the heavy hitters in the AFC weeks 1 and week 2. One thing to not underplay is how much this win will mean come playoff time. Should these 2 teams be in contention for the number 1 seed in the AFC, the Chiefs have this win in their back pocket. The Chiefs have already knocked out one of the great heavyweights in the AFC this season. I mean, we're just projecting, right? But you have to imagine that the Ravens will be one of the heavy hitters in the AFC this year. Getting this win puts them up that half game come playoff time. Come playoff time, if there are 2 teams, the Ravens and the Chiefs, with the same record, and they're both likely to have very good records, the Chiefs have the edge already. Week 1. Again, like I said earlier, you're looking at probably 10 wins to make the playoffs. You're looking at probably 13 wins to get the number 1 seed. The Chiefs now have 16 opportunities to get 9 wins to be in the playoffs, 16 opportunities to get 12 wins in order to probably have that number 1 seed. Gary chimes in. How did you see how Felix, the defensive end, did tonight? How did I witness it, or how do I think he did? Witnessed it. I try to keep an eye on different players in the game. That's one of the things that knowing that I'm going to comment on the game afterwards has changed for me, keeping an eye on individual players. Just being on the field is going to help Felix Anudike-Uzomah later on. He's not a guy that got a whole lot of reps last season. I would imagine he's coming up on a quarter of the reps he played last year. Well, probably not a quarter. 15% of the reps that he played last year based on this first game. I might be completely wrong. Maybe I spotted him every time he was on the field and tried to keep an eye on him. So it's possible that I am overemphasizing Felix Anudike-Uzomah. It's possible that I am overestimating how much he played. He didn't play a whole lot at all last year. 74 snaps, again, from the Bengals. The Chiefs went through, Herring missed some time, I think, in this game going down. Covington's ghost, yes, I am still up. I work overnights, so I had to wake up early to see that game. But, yes, we are still here. Covington's ghost says Felix had a quiet, fine game. I agree. But a quiet, fine game, going back to Gary, that's something we didn't see a whole lot from Felix Anudike-Uzomah. We saw a lot of silent games from Felix last year. So obviously, after 1 year, I'm not willing to call FAU a bust. Being a first rounder, you want a bigger impact than Felix had last year. We did not see that this game. We did not see what a first rounder you would hope for from a first rounder in a rookie season, let alone in his second season. But progress from Felix, if we are able to count on Felix for reps, that is going to be a big thing as well. You have to almost think about the NFL season, especially as, we've got 17 games now. They're angling towards 18 games. You have to have contributors. You have to have middle relievers at all positions. You have to have players that can step in and contribute. And if Felix can do that as long you can be a bust and not be a wasted pick. Clyde, I think I am willing to call a bust, not a wasted pick. Obviously, I have defended Clyde long and hard on this channel because I think that anytime, or the selection, I've defended the selection because if you were plugging Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the college player, into the NFL, if that was the impact he had, he would have been an absolute bargain as the last pick in the first round. He was not that. He's been a contributor. So he has been a bust, but a contributor, not a wasted pick. Chiefs again chimes in. If I'm Mahomes, I would never throw to Perrine again. So you have to understand, though, that he didn't have any preseason time at all. These are the first reps of the year for him. So he's a guy who makes that catch. 9 times out of 10, he makes that catch. Samaje Perine reached out with one hand. I think that later in the season, if he has his feet under him, he is not in the position to have to stretch out. He is in the position to be able to make that catch in stride. He is able to make that catch. And guys, it was daylight ahead of him. They showed the replay from an angle behind Samaje Perine. That would have been 7. Especially with the way that guy runs. That would have been 7. It would have been a massive play for this offense. That was, I don't remember where on the field that was, but it would have been their 3rd explosive touchdown. I think that was that was around midfield, right? If I'm not mistaken. That would have been a huge play. It would have been 3 explosive touchdowns where we only saw 4 all last year. Crispy chimes in, Obi-Wan Mahomes. Oh, I get it. Not a Star Wars guy. Those things take me a while sometimes. Going for the three-peat Chief Kingdom. You hate to say it after week 1. And I'm not going to. I'm not going to guarantee a Super Bowl. I'm not going to guarantee that type of thing. I'm willing to guarantee that for a large portion of the season, this is going to be one of the favorites. Barring injury, obviously, you always have to put that caveat in there. Barring injury, barring health concerns, this team is absolutely one of the favorites for the Super Bowl. Being able to come out and everything worked on offense. Not everything all the time. They were able to run the ball. They were able to throw the ball. They were able to throw deep. They were able to throw over the middle. They were able to throw to the periphery. Everything worked. And that happening against the Ravens is going to send shockwaves through the NFL. A stronger week 1 victory, I don't think you could ask for. It could have been they rolled out one of these weaker teams for the Chiefs in week 1 and the Chiefs win 40-12. That would have been a victory that could have gotten more headlines, perhaps. It would not have been as convincing as this. Last season, this time of the year, had the Chiefs taken on the Baltimore Ravens. Think about that. Last season at this time, had the Chiefs taken on the Baltimore Ravens, you would not have seen this performance. Last year, at this time, had the Chiefs taken on the Baltimore Ravens, I think that would have been a loss. Last year, at this time, had the Chiefs taken on the Baltimore Ravens, you would not have seen 27 points. You would not have seen all of the explosive plays. You would not have seen almost anything that this offense did. Think about it. The offense went through Rashee Rice last night, wherever it is you're watching this. Last year at this time, Rashee Rice was not the contributor that he has grown into. Covington's Ghost says, Samaje Perine has been a successful fantasy player for me before. I was a bit surprised to see the Chiefs add him. I haven't been following the offseason. I'm out of market. So he was a late addition to the Kansas City Chiefs. Someone who signed late. He was not active. He missed training camp. So you're getting a player in Samaje Perine that is very fresh, very new. There was questions of whether or not he would even play tonight. He's that new to the team, to the offense, and even seeing him on the field is ahead of where he should have been. Now he's a professional, he's a veteran, so he's going to be able to download that playbook pretty quick. That said, we saw quite a bit of Juju Smith-Schuster too, I believe. So being able to add these players late and bring up the floor to this offense. Perine will make that catch. Perine is going to add hard-fought yards through the running game as well. The addition of Samaje Perine is going to be one of the things probably that we look back on after this season has ended, hopefully in February. That was a beautiful touch by Brett Veach. Chiefs again says, feed Rice, baby. Yes. I don't know that he will have. So here's the question. You are an opposing defensive coordinator. I mean, maybe that's enough. Maybe that's enough right there of a question. Maybe that is enough to absolutely terrify you. You are an opposing defensive coordinator playing the Kansas City Chiefs. What do you do? Do you pressure Patrick Mahomes and leave all of those targets just deliciously open? What do you do? Who do you double team? Is it Travis Kelce? Can you sell yourself? If you're a defensive coordinator, can you sell yourself on the fact that Travis Kelce's old now? Travis Kelce didn't do anything against the Ravens. Travis Kelce's lost a step. Can you sell yourself on that? Do you want to take that chance? Do you want to be the defensive coordinator that has Patrick Mahomes to Travis Kelce be the thing that beats you? Okay, so double team Travis Kelce. Go ahead. If you're double teaming Travis Kelce, here's another thing that is going to be underappreciated until probably mid-season or so. If you're double teaming Travis Kelce, Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy are just going to be against your safeties and corners. You're going to take a safety into the box to double team Travis Kelce and have a single high safety? Good luck. Okay, so you want that safety in the box. We have a 4.37 running back. Isaiah Pacheco ran a 4.37 40-yard dash. You want that guy in the box so that Patrick Mahomes has an escape route on the sideline in Isaiah Pacheco? Go ahead. Okay, we'll let you. Do you want to double team Xavier Worthy? Do you want to take your safeties out of the box? You want to play too high? Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce will feast in the middle of the field. Go ahead. Kansas in Korea. I'm very happy with Chanel. Yeah, that's one of my notes too. And the DBs should only improve as the season goes on, following from South Korea. Well, it's good to have you in Kansas City. Leo Chanel, here's one of the things with Leo. I think that he's going to have a lot of invisible great games. He's someone that is, and Chris Jones said this in the post-game press conference too. Leo Chanel is counted on to do so many things and be so many places that at times I think we're going to underappreciate the impact that he has on the field because we don't see him making the tackle because they're not able to make that pass. They're not going to run right at Leo Chanel. Whatever the case is, we're not going to see the impact on the stat sheet. We're not going to see the impact during the game. If you were unaware of watching Leo Chanel spy Lamar Jackson, and you don't know what a spy is, right? That's sort of an inside baseball term. It's sort of an inside football term. You would have thought that Leo Chanel was not doing much. Guess who knows what he was doing? Lamar Jackson knew what Leo Chanel was doing. And yeah, Lamar Jackson's faster than Leo Chanel. But do you want to take that risk? Your Lamar Jackson slimmed down for this season because you want to be more versatile, because you want to look fat, you want to be faster on the field. You want to be the old Lamar who's running all over. Do you want 250-pound Leo Chanel to meet you 4 yards downfield? You do not. You do not. So there's that as well. Sea-Dog asks, is this live? Covington's Ghost answers, it is, baby. It is. We are here in the late night, 2 a.m., talking Chiefs football. If there's anyone who wants me to do late night live streams, let me know. It's something I have sort of trended. I have not done to this point because I wasn't sure anyone would be here. That it's 2:30 in the morning and there's 25 people here is surprising to me. So what all you animals are doing out of bed, I don't know. Randy says, if the Chiefs fix the secondary, they win the Super Bowl easily, although I am a little afraid of Kingsley against elite pass rusher in his rookie year. Two things to address there. You're right on both counts. Obviously, you're right on both counts. I don't know that this defensive secondary, however, showed weakness. So teams are going to pass on you. It's just the truth. This era of the NFL, teams are going to get yards. They're going to be able to throw the ball. I thought that Watson looked pretty good tonight. Again, I will bring up the stat. Flowers went 6 for 37. That is way better than the AFC Championship game. Not saying that Watson is going to make us forget about L'Jarius Sneed. That is unlikely. I think he's a competent number 2 cornerback in the NFL. I think that he is a gamer. I think that this is something that the Chiefs are going to continue to toy with. Their second cornerback question, the quandary at cornerback, the curious case of CB2. But I think that Isaiah Watson is going to be able to hold that down. Talking about Kingsley, obviously that's a question. I don't know that he had a great game. He had a good game, and that's a great thing against the Ravens. I think so I'll have to go back and look. I don't know if the Ravens were targeting him. I know if I were the Ravens, I would have targeted him. I would have figured that out. it's possible that they targeted him early in the game and figured out, okay, well, no, not going to do that. But he gave up 2 pressures and 1 sack in this game. 1 sack, your first game in the NFL as a left tackle against the Baltimore Ravens. I'll take it. I'll take it. The question you have to ask yourself, Kingsley Suamataia, the performance that he had last night, do you think that that was a step up or down from what Donovan Smith was providing last year? I think that and again, without going back and rewatching, I think that this was probably on par with Donovan Smith. That said, this is the floor for Kingsley Suamataia, unless, as happened with Wanya Morris last year, unless the defenses in the NFL find a way to exploit Kingsley Suamataia that they did with Wanya Morris last year. That's why we saw Wanya Morris sort of fall off as his starts progressed. You have things on tape, and then the defenses around the NFL get to learn from that, get to say, okay, well, Wanya Morris is weak against the speed rusher, which they would have known from their college scouting. But this is how we can exploit that in the NFL. And they started to a little bit. They started to pick on Wanya Morris, and it paid off for them. Wanya Morris is not starting this year. Wanya Morris did not start once the playoffs did. The question is, was Kingsley Suamataia better than Donovan Smith last year? I think that was a push so far. I think I think that Kingsley Suamataia is going to get better. I didn't see any pronounced weaknesses last night. There were at least one occasion I thought he could have gotten called for a hold that he did not. Somehow that seems to be a superpower of Kingsley Suamataia, which people will complain about. It will get corrected, but hopefully that gets corrected in time for Kingsley Suamataia to not have to put himself into the position where he's getting his. So it wasn't like grabbing a jersey. It was a hand outside of the shoulder pads, which is going to get called eventually. Sea-Dog says, hi, everyone. Hello, Sea-Dog. Crispy says, the rookie left tackle was not bad at all. Absolutely. Covington's Ghost says, I vote for late night live streams. So I have to ask, is everyone here overnight, out of market? What are you guys doing up? Huh? You better be in school tomorrow. I will be taking attendance. Sea-Dog says he blew a stunt and gave up a sack. That's pretty good in my book. Yeah. And those are things that are going to happen to veteran offensive linemen. That's especially something that's going to happen to veteran offensive linemen against the Ravens. That's especially something that's going to happen to veteran linemen against the Ravens in week 1. Again, the Ravens, it's week 1. They're having to replace a defensive coordinator. They're having to replace some starters. Still a good defense, still going to be a well-coached defense. To have had this performance against the Ravens in week 1, that's a good sign for things to come. Crispy says that pick that Mahomes threw was horrible. Hopefully no more of that. That took me by such surprise. That was a shocking interception. I don't know what exactly happened there. I don't know if he was throwing it away. I don't know if someone was supposed to be there. I don't know if it was just the being off balance part. I don't think it's not going to be a habit for Mahomes. Covington's Ghost says no class tomorrow. I'm good. Sea-Dog is a night owl, and Covington's Ghost agrees. Crispy says representing Chiefs Kingdom in California. California. Did you steal a new car this week? Sea-Dog says, why wasn't that hit on Mahomes out of bounds called? I think he's getting the anti-LeBron treatment. I think he's getting the Cam Newton treatment. I think that what is going on here is the referees have started to respond to criticism in ways that they have not in the past. They are overcorrecting for things. We saw that with Jawan Taylor last year. The criticism in the media for, that guy was offsides every play and it wasn't called. Now they're calling everything. This is the referees in the NFL not wanting to get blamed for Brady treatment, and instead they're giving him Cam Newton treatment. Both of those hits out of bounds, absolutely. Patrick Mahomes sold them, maybe oversold them. They should have been called. Those are things you just don't do. Now, I agree that I don't like. So the one that was Patrick Mahomes getting shoved, that was a more egregious penalty because he was definitely out of bounds. I don't like seeing those things called. I agree that I don't like seeing those things called. But if you're going to call them, call them. Call them. Dennis says, I live in LA, but if you start overnight, it's going to make it hard for me to work in the morning. I apologize, Dennis. I will. My days off, I crash. So maybe it won't be this late in the future. I'll try to keep it a little bit earlier. Sea-Dog says Jawan Taylor had 2 more penalties. Yes, on pace for 34. That will be impressive. That will be absolutely impressive. I think before we get anywhere near that, he will be replaced by Wanye Morris if this keeps up. I don't think he had a bad game blocking, though. So what are you willing to put up with? What are you not willing to put up with? Tony says one was called off. Oh, that's right. That was an offsetting penalty. Thank you for reminding me of that, Tony. That was an offsetting penalty. Still, those are both penalties in today's NFL. Call them. If you're going to call them for Joe Schmo quarterback, call them for Patrick Mahomes, the face of the NFL, whether anyone likes it or not. Whether anyone likes it or not. See if I have any other notes. Oh, yeah, I think I pretty much got through all these. Nicholas says, I'm retired. I do what I want. I do enjoy takes. I feel like I'm learning football, Chiefs all over again. Thanks. Hey, this is a huge and still growing community. I know that the community is still growing as far as commentators on YouTube go, as far as creators on YouTube go. I know the community is growing. The number of creators is growing because my views are going down. But everybody in this community that I have witnessed, viewed, I think we've got a pretty good base of creators here. So that is something that is a few years ago. When I started this channel, there weren't very many at all, and it was hard to grow an audience. But the main commentators that I was able to find on NFL from an independent fashion, from an independent standpoint on NFL football on YouTube were basically all New York Jets and New York Giants creators. So needless to say, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to. Much better commentary from the Chiefs creators than you would have gotten from the New York creators. A lot of complaining and a lot of cursing. So Crispy says Tucker missed field goal was excellent. Butker all dubs. Yeah, that missed field goal may have been huge. Changed the complexion of the end of the game. Joe with a super chat, $10. Thank you, Joe. Good to see you on my lunch break. The linebackers are going to be put through the mud this week by the Chiefs fans, but I believe this was the toughest game for them all year. Joe working overnights. Yeah, the linebackers, I think, so Nick Bolton had a bad game. I think that Drew Tranquill took some bad angles. Maybe that is just something you have to shake off in the early season. There was a play where Drew Tranquill was 4 yards downfield. Lamar Jackson was 3 yards downfield, and Drew Tranquill was caught between covering, I believe it was a tight end, and going for the tackle. You don't have, once he passes the line of scrimmage, you can't throw it forward, Drew. So I think that is something that is just going to get ironed out as the season goes on. Those pursuit angles from Drew Tranquill tonight, not the greatest, but it's week 1. That's going to go by the wayside. Thank you for the super chat. It's good to see you on your lunch break as well. Hopefully I don't do anything too disgusting to convince you not to eat your lunch. Gary says, do the refs get a pass on the game tonight? A pass? No. I do not think it was egregious refereeing. Um, I think that it was I think it was a pretty good called game. I think you just have to, if you're going to call those penalties for one quarterback, you got to call it for all of them, and you especially have to call it for Patrick Mahomes. Covington's Ghost says New York Jets creators are a dime a dozen for sure. I have one that I like though. Drop his name in the comments. I do not follow any independent commentators from other teams. I follow a few draft commentators. You can find me on a draft channel. I have not really created much, but I'm going to create more this season. It is called Draft Chair. If I can figure out how to link it in the description, I will continue to link it in the description. But that is where I will be talking all NFL draft all the time. Sea Dog says Lamar Jackson said that Likely had both feet in the end zone, and he stands by that. Mahomes said that Likely should wear white shoes. Yeah, he should wear white shoes. No, he was not in the end zone, Lamar. I understand you've got to stick up for your guy. So the interesting thing about that, though, every replay of that, besides the last one, that is not the foot I was looking at. I was looking at his back foot. I was like, golly, this is going into overtime. Then Harbaugh was saying go for two. And luckily, that play was reviewed because I didn't even see I thought for sure his first foot was in bounds. Covington's Ghost says Jets talk 24/7. He used to do call-ins. I would call myself a secondary Jets fan. That is, I'll have to look him up. Battleaxe Slat says, one heart for the algorithm. I appreciate that. If you were here, hit the like button. It does help me out. It tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. I don't market myself a whole lot. I don't put myself out there a whole lot. I kind of keep to myself. So I do appreciate those types of things. If you do feel it necessary to hit the like button, it does help me out. Anybody else have anything they want to talk about? I am wound down on my notes, and I will be working on a video for tomorrow, a game review for the morning, afternoon type hours. So let me know if there's anything else you want to talk about. Otherwise, we will wind down this chat. I will stick around for a couple more minutes just to see if there's anything to address. But yeah, thank you for being here. What a way to start the 2024 NFL season. A big win against the Baltimore Ravens. And an exciting win, a win that justified the offseason and the effort put onto the offensive side of the ball, and a win that the big worry was what the loss of L'Jarius Sneed was going to do to this defense. Tony says, thank you. No, thank you. Thank you for being here. The discombobulating effect that it can be to lose a primary player like L'Jarius Sneed is a tough hump to get over. The Chiefs, while you don't have a replacement for L'Jarius Sneed on the roster, the Chiefs look to be okay, in my opinion, at the cornerback spot. Sea-Dog says, good game indeed. It was. Going once, going twice. Thank you for being here. I hope to have you back tomorrow for the game review. And guys, it is going to be an exciting season for the Kansas City Chiefs. Joe Cunningham says, is Spags saving the rookie DBs? I heard he didn't play much. I didn't see him on the field much either. It might be because tonight was just so high stakes and the Ravens offense is so multivalent. It might be that. I think he is going to play. Again, I haven't seen the snaps. Don't know 100%. I think that we're going to see him more as the season progresses, maybe in games where this Ravens offense is hard to diagnose. I imagine especially as a rookie. So I don't think there's anything to worry about there. Good night, guys. I was happy to be here with you. It was good to see all of you. I appreciate your comments. And hey, come back tomorrow. There will be stuff to watch.